Man, 2020, it's been a year for the history books, right? So for our teammate Convo today, we're talking to Joe Federle. He's our editor here at WHAS, and he's also sort of our unofficial historian. Whenever we need footage from our archives or we need to know any sort of history or trivia from our station or the community, we turn to Joe. So he's in studio with me now, socially distanced, to talk about 2020 and history. So Joe, my first question for you is, looking back on 2020, are there any sort of parallels with other moments in our history that come to mind for you?
Well, I mean, as far as I can remember, the biggest one would be September 11th.
There are reports that people are alive in that rubble. Does that give you reason to hope and sense of urgency to get there?
Melissa Swan went to New York City on September 11th. As soon as all this happened, she jumped in the car and drove up there. And I think that was a huge event that I have tried to showcase on, Facebook and such. I remember when it happened, everybody was just floored. We didn't know how to take it. And it's kind of like the same thing that happened this year. I mean, nothing like this has ever happened. I mean, September 11th was the same thing. That's the only thing that I can think of in recent memory that was anything like this year. And
I think it reminds me too of being in this moment when all news coverage sort of surrounded around a central event. September 11th was that way, and now COVID, it's the thing that everyone's talking about. So it's especially, I think, that way for people like you and me who work in the news industry.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's kind of neat to be in this industry at this time, at this year, because it's the biggest news story I would argue anybody's ever covered in the electronic age anyway. But the best part I think about being in the media is being able to point out the positives. I mean, there's a lot of negative, obviously, that's easy to see, but I'm proud that we do a good job of showcasing the healthcare workers and the first responders, and that's the great thing about human nature. There's always such good human nature of people helping.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. Why is it that you love history and nostalgia so much? I mean, you're always digging up some clip from WHAS from a decade ago or 4 decades ago. Why do you love that so much?
Well, I guess part of it is me growing up watching WHAS11 and trying to see the stuff that I may have missed. There's all sorts of stuff in the archive that has happened that I had no idea about, and I feel like I didn't know that ever happened. That existed, or there's always so much care and love in this community that I love to see on display, and that's something that if you look in the archives, you always see that prominent in this community.
Hey, Joe Federle, thanks for chatting with us, and here's to a end of 2020 and hopefully a much more positive 2021.
Thank you. You too.
All right.